In the 1960s, there was a professor of psychology called Albert Mehrabian. He pioneered communication studies, which led to a well-known theory called the Mehrabian rule. The rule states that our body language and our facial expressions account for 55% of the message that we try to convey. 38% was down to the voice inflection, and a mere 7% the words that we actually choose to use. Now, I suspect you've probably heard of this theory before, or something very similar. What you might not know is that actually this was based on a study that has been widely misinterpreted and overgeneralized from an experiment that was very specific in certain conditions and actually focused more on positive and negative emotion. Now, what you say and the words that you use do matter. Content is important. Now, absolutely, your body language, your energy levels, your enthusiasm all play a big role and are particularly important in interviews, but they're not enough alone, and they're certainly not enough to get you through a BP interview successfully. So in this session, there are a few takeaways that I hope you'll walk away with. First of all, BP is on a really exciting journey at the moment. I'm going to share a little bit about that with you. Secondly, I want you to be able to go into your video interview feeling confident that you can be authentic, be yourself. So at BP, bringing our whole self to work is something that we talk about a lot, and I think this should start in your first interview with us. I'm going to give you some hints and tips and tools that you can hopefully use to help give clarity to your interview, to help you articulate yourself in a structured way and allow you to get across everything that you want to get across. So you walk away from your interview feeling like you've said everything you wanted to say. My name is Siobhan Mogan and I'm one of the early careers leads at BP. I've been at BP for about 8 years now, and I often refer to myself as a BP lifer. I love BP, I love my job, and I know that sounds very cheesy, but I can't imagine working anywhere else. And I think there are two main reasons for that. One, it's the people. So from the moment I walked in the doors of BP, I could see that people were passionate about what they do. They were happy to take the time to sit down with me, to talk about what they do and why they do it. And that was very important for me as a recruiter. And secondly, it's about the bigger picture. So being part of an organisation that makes a huge difference, it really has an impact on the world around us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening at BP right now. Then I'm going to talk you through the video interview and what you can expect. And then I'll talk through how you can help yourself prepare for this and hopefully nail it. So BP is going through a huge transformation at the moment. We are reimagining energy and reinventing BP. So what does this actually mean? So reimagining energy is all about cutting down greenhouse gases. We're cutting carbon in our operations, and not only this, but we are growing our low carbon businesses. And to do this, we need to reinvent BP. So what this means is we need to fundamentally reorganise our company. We're going to be simpler, flatter, faster, and digital technology is going to be at the heart of everything that we do. Now, as you go into your interview with BP, I would really think about this and think about what does that mean for you? Is this exciting? Are you ready for this challenge and to play a role in this change? So what does it mean for our future early careers talent? Well, there are going to be bigger challenges, there are bigger decisions to make, bigger thinking, and ultimately bigger opportunities for you. So it's not just about your academics or the experiences that you've had. Think about what is interesting about this for you and what are you passionate about, what's important for you, what are your ambitions. It's these things that ultimately will have an impact on the role that you secure and where you end up. So what can you expect from the video interview? So at this point you will have passed through our online application form and CV submission. You will have completed some online assessments and successfully passed those. And at this point you'll be invited through to the video interview. Now, a video interview can feel really daunting. To go through an interview where you're not with an actual person asking you questions is probably quite strange. The benefit of a video interview is you can do it in a place and a time that works for you. So if you're a morning person, do it in the morning. If you know that your house is going to be busy on certain days of the week, try to avoid those days. Find a time and a place where it's going to be quiet, where you won't have interruptions, where you've got strong internet connections, you're not going to be cut out, and a time where you're awake and energized so you can put your best self forward. Your motivation and passion is really important, so find a time where you can really get that across. So a big part of the video interview will be competency-based questions, and these will link to BP as an organisation, but also to the specific role that you're applying to. And the purpose of competency questions is for us to learn about your previous experiences to help us predict how you might behave in the future. So during the interview, you'll be asked a set of questions. You'll have a little bit of time to read the question and have a bit of time to think about your response. You'll then be given a set amount of time to respond and record your answer. So you'll have 3 minutes to do this. Now, this might feel like a really short amount of time, but actually you can get a lot across in 3 minutes. And so don't feel like you need to rush through your answer or cut out some of the detail. It should be plenty of time to give a detailed, in-depth answer. So how can you prepare for your video interview? So the competency questions that we ask are predominantly linked to the BP values. We have 5 core values, so make sure you know what these are and have a think about your past experiences and some examples where you think you may have displayed some of these values and the associated behaviours. And this can come from any experiences that you've had, whether it's academic projects or extracurricular activities or work experience. It's up to you what you choose. When you're thinking about the types of examples you want to draw from, try and think about things that you've been particularly proud of or challenges that you've faced where you've been successful. Think about experiences that have real meaning for you, and this will help you to come across in that authentic way and show that passion for those examples. One technique that might help you in your interview is the STAR method. So this is a method you can use to help give structure and clarity to your answer. So STAR is STAR. So S stands for situation. So when you start talking about the example that you want to share, explain what the situation was, set the scene a little bit. T is for task. So what was your task? What was your objective or your goal in that situation? And this should refer back to the specific question that you're being asked. So if you're talking about influencing another person, for example, your objective is to influence that person for a certain reason. So try and make it specific. A is for action. Now this should really be the bulk of your answer. So this is where you go into lots of detail about what you did, what you said, why you did it, why you said it, how you did it, what challenges you faced, what setbacks you had, how you overcame those, all of that detail. And then R is for results. So what happened in the end? Were you successful? Did you reach your goal or meet the objectives that you had in this particular situation? What you also might find helpful to do at this point is reflect back a little bit. So think about, what did you learn from that situation? Do your interviewer's job for them. So what did you learn that you could then apply to similar future situations? What you also need to do in your interview is try and be as personal as you can, and this can feel quite uncomfortable. So what I mean by that is talking about what you did. So speak using the word I, not we. So even if it's a team situation, you should be thinking about the value that you brought, the impact that you had, and really go into that detail. Finally, as well as competency questions and linking to the values, we're also really interested to understand your motivations. And when I talk about motivation, I mean why you're applying to BP as an organisation and why that particular role. So it's not just about being motivated and excited and energetic, it's actually demonstrating some evidence. So what research have you done? What do you understand about the organisation? What do you understand about the role that you're applying to? And why are you a good fit and a good match for that? So really try and think through that before your interview. And in terms of research into BP, absolutely there's heaps of information on our website. So you can absolutely start there, but it's not just about regurgitating what you've read. Try and go a step further. So question things or think, well, what might that mean? Or what challenges might that pose for BP? Or think about what's of particular interest to you, what excites you. And finally, practice, practice, practice. So whether this is going through some examples that you might want to draw from in your head or in front of a mirror or to a friend or a family member, whatever it is that helps you, try and go through those examples and get familiar with the detail of them. So although you can't predict the exact questions that you might be asked, you can get really familiar with your own CV, with your own examples, so that you're ready to give that detail and depth that's needed. So in terms of next steps, once you've completed your video interview, a real life human will review it, and if you're successful, you'll be invited through to the technical interview stage. Now, there will be another video with hints and tips for this. If you're successful at technical interview, you'll then be invited through to the final assessment centre, which is called the Exploration Day. This is a half-day event where you'll take part in both group and individual exercises. Again, there will be a video with hints and tips on this, so do check that out. So I hope this video has been helpful. Do check out the other videos that we have with hints and tips about each stage of our process, but otherwise all the best and lots of luck for your video interview.